Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 77 of your favorite basketball podcast, Sitting Courtside. Like always, my name is Dante.
It's your boy Jerry D.
And we are back again. We're removed from All-Star Weekend and stuff, so we're back in the swing of things. NBA games are back. Superstars are back. We've had some big matchups. We've had some big stories that we want to get into involving some of the biggest names, the biggest stars in the league today. But I say we start off fresh. We talk about something that just happened the night before us filming. Today is February 26th, so hopefully this episode comes out either today, tomorrow, regardless. Luka Doncic had his very first game against the Dallas Mavericks on Tuesday, the 25th in LA. I believe it was not in Dallas. That would have been a little bit more.
That'll be better. I hope
I'll be a lot better. I've been seeing like all these like the sports shows, the betting shows, and everything. We're talking about Luka over. I'm like, honestly, like I think people are getting a little too ahead of themselves. I feel like the next game against in Dallas will be the one that he pops off. But anyways, his first game against Dallas, dropped a triple double. Almost had a triple double at halftime. 19 points. These are the stats that he's been averaging since he's been in LA. Had the triple-double last night, but since being in LA, he is averaging 19 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, and almost 2 steals a game. Lakers are 3-2 with Luka. They've honestly been pretty good over their last stretch of games. I believe they're like 6-1 in the last 7 games or something along those lines.
Like 8-2 in the last 10.
8-2 in their last 10. They're starting to figure it out. Obviously, Luka being added in is a big shakeup to the roster and the chemistry and everything. So they're figuring it out. But after what we've seen so far with Luka in LA, with the few games with LeBron, I just kind of want to get your thoughts. You know, as a Lakers fan, you are, Jerry, what you're seeing from them, and if you're optimistic that they can, you know, maybe do something in the playoffs or whatnot.
I mean, it's honestly still kind of weird for me to see. It kind of feels like one of those trades that happen in like 2032 on the 2K where he just magically ends up a Laker. So
every time I see him in a jersey, I still get taken back
weird.
by it. It's
so
just like the yellow, something with the yellow jersey. I see him in it and I'm like, that just doesn't feel right yet. Doesn't look right yet.
No, definitely not. Like not at this point. But I mean, hey, they're 3-2 with them in the lineup, 8-2, like we talked about in these last 10 games. And oddly enough, their defensive rating has improved with Luka, but he's obviously a target because the Charlotte Hornets pulled up into their building and Charles Lee ran him in screen and rolls the entire game. It was crazy. And Kyrie Irving had 35. I bet like 20 of those points were also in Luka ISOs before the help came. So kind of weird how their defensive rating went up. It's probably because of the small sample size, but good to see that the Lakers are playing well, playing a little better. I think some chemistry issues are still kind of underlying, though, like Luka not knowing that, hey, you have a freight train behind you and LeBron James is trailing. You know, D-Wade used to throw it off the glass or throw it between the legs, you know, to get LeBron and more involved in this inside paint touch. But they're playing well. Hopefully it continues. Stephen A. apparently thinks that they're a top 5 threat, part of the top 5 threats to the Boston Celtics. I'm not quite there yet.
I'm not sold on that yet, but I do think what they've shown is promising for sure.
For sure. Because you can tell now there's 3 perimeter threats that can get their own shot and that can create for others. LeBron, Luka, and now Austin Reeves. So it's kind of cool that they have that little 3-headed monster, but I'm still very, very scared about the defense at the end of the floor for Luka and for the team in general. So we'll see.
And, you know, it's one of those things where we can see what we see now in the regular season, you know, improvements on the defensive end, or like you said, the Lakers defensive rating, their defensive numbers look better. Once the playoffs come around, it's a whole different thing. Like, I mean, you talk about people targeting Luka. When the playoffs come around, that's going to be every offense is like, what they're going to try to do every single possession is target him, isolate him, because it worked clearly in the finals for the Celtics and whatnot. But I'm not there yet to say, listen, they're the 4th seed in the West. There's still a lot of teams in that 4 seed area, just kind of, you know, floating around there like a little bubble. They very well could finish as a top 4 seed, get home court advantage, and we see what happens there. But I'm not there yet. I'm not ready to say that they're a contender by any means, not a title contender like a Western Conference contender. They still have to show a little bit. And again, I think the true test is when the playoffs come around, and that's going to be a big eyes. All eyes are going to be on Luka when the playoffs start.
I think even more hype got to the Lakers because how they beat
Oh my,
Denver.
100%, yeah, big time.
Like
20-point
that's
victory over Denver too.
in Denver I think that was their first win over there since 2022 or whatever it was. Like it's been a little while since they actually won in that building. I think the Nuggets had a 15-game win streak on them or whatever it is. So
and Luka had a great game. He had like 32 points or whatever it was.
a near triple double again. So
Yeah,
I mean, I could see why when the postseason comes, the game slows down. Right, it's a half court game, and you have Luka and LeBron, so you're kind of like maybe they'll be all right, but that defensive side of the ball is still very questionable for me as a Laker fan. So I'm still on the wait and see right now.
and I think that's a fair thing to do. I think that's a safe thing to do. But we'll talk more about them as the season goes on. We'll see, what they continue to show from us. If they stay as a top 4 seed in the West, or they start to slide a little bit, we will see. But moving on from one Western Conference team, the LA Lakers, to another one with a superstar that didn't get moved at the deadline, but very well could have, and is a good chance that he gets moved this offseason. That is Mr. Kevin Durant. He was on the Draymond Green podcast, I believe. I don't know if it was early today. The episode came out. It was yesterday, but recently he was on the podcast. It was on today. And a few quotes we have basically talking about the trade where he could have got sent back to the Golden State Warriors. He said no, didn't want to do it. His side of things was, we can play the season out, and if that's the decision you want to make in the offseason, then we figure it out. Basically saying, I want to stay in Phoenix. Don't shit me out and mess things up mid-season. Let's see if we can figure it out. If not, we'll go from there.
What a great soul.
What a guy Kevin Durant is. I mentioned that he costs a lot of assets for teams, and it doesn't make sense right now for him to be traded. So kind of looking out for a team that would trade for him, whatever it may be. And he says he wants to finish what he started with Phoenix. Finish what he started. He hasn't really been there for too long. I feel like he hasn't really started anything there. But just kind of at this point, I was going to ask you, do you think he's going to get traded? I think it is a foregone conclusion that he is going to get traded this offseason, which is wild that we're kind of talking about it like this because he is still one of the best players in the NBA. And it's like, I feel like we're at a point every few years he's getting traded. He's getting traded somewhere. But with all this being said, where do you see him going this offseason? Well, I should say, what team do you see trading for him this offseason? Do you think, the Golden State Warriors? I know they just got Jimmy Butler. Do you think maybe they try to get their hands in the mix here? Do you think a team like Miami tries to get what do you think is going to happen here with Kevin Durant? I have a few teams I think that could go after him, should go after him, and I think would look great, but want to get your 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, before I'll save my soliloquy for the end. Actually, to answer your question directly,
soliloquy. It's a good one.
You like that one?
Smooth.
But to kind of answer your question here, I think I got 2 to 3 teams, and I think one of them could be the Warriors for sure as an honorable mention. But
at this point with Butler, you could do stuff with Kuminga and Moody and other pieces, I guess. But you got rid of your big contract and Andrew Wiggins and just gave Butler $60 million. So
I don't think you want to do that anymore.
No, and listen, Kevin Durant shut you down for a reason. I know it's months later and stuff, but if he didn't want to go to you the first time around, I just stay away from it. You know what I mean? Probably better off.
I kind of believe him though that it is a lot to pick up and move. I'd imagine,
100%.
We're not millionaires, and we can't afford to move around that much, but they can, and it's probably still just a hassle to go find a home, go find an apartment, whatever you're gonna do for the
fucking Luka Doncic bought a $15 million house in Texas a week before he got traded. That sucks. I get it. I get that.
I think the Warriors is kind of whatever, but I understand if you want to stack the deck. When he was there, it was guaranteed success. We know what y'all did.
Hey, I think if he does go there, I think Draymond is an odd man. I think he might get traded for Kevin Durant to make money work. I think that's really the best pathway. You don't want to do that, but regardless. I don't think
It's
that's
not worth it at that point.
not
Like,
worth
don't
it.
even do it.
Yeah, if you're trying to trade away guys like Draymond, then it's not. You have to look in the mirror and be like, I don't know if this is worth it. But what are the other teams that you can see him going to?
I like Houston still. I know they try to load
Yeah.
up on picks to give them Şengün and whatnot. Obviously, Şengün had an all-star. He was an all-star a couple weeks
Yep.
back. Amen Thompson's huge. Jalen Green's big time. They still have young assets that still make sense if you're Phoenix. Like, hey, we can try to just maybe not rebuild because Devin Booker will still be in attendance, but possibly hit a little retool, see if you can get some young assets. And
hey, Reed Shepard is floating around. He hasn't really played at all for Houston, so
yeah,
that could be someone that gets thrown in the mix.
I kind of like the Houston idea. Plus, Ime Udoka definitely would love to have another veteran voice in that locker room, I'm sure. Jeff Green, good veteran player, good role player, good for the guys, but let's have somebody that can go be about that action, still play some big time minutes. Other team that I'm thinking here, the Dallas Mavericks. Since they were kind of trying to entertain this idea of like, we can get Kyrie, AD, and KD and put them all
True.
together. Like, that's something that they discussed. I don't really know what you move for that. Again, it's if I'm Phoenix, what's interesting to me? Like,
Right.
I'm not looking at PJ Washington and Kessler Edwards and all these other, like, I don't want to call them no names, but lesser inferior players
Right.
for what we're getting in Kevin Durant. It doesn't really make a lot of sense how they make it happen, but if they're still interested, weirder things have happened. So let's see what goes on. I think I'll just stick with those two. Like, the other teams that
Okay.
could probably get honorable mentions is always the Clippers. It's always the Heat, since they
Of
got to be a
course.
free agency destination this year with
Of
what they
course.
just lost. So that's it for me. But what you got?
I like the Rockets. That's probably my top choice because I think they have some tradable assets.
And
I
draft
think
capital too.
and draft capital. I think Jalen Green is going to be the odd man out in that case. I personally think like Amen Thompson they should hold on to. I think him and Sengun should be the two guys that I like. Green and Sengun were the two guys before, and Green is great. Don't get me wrong, but Amen Thompson, there is something there.
I'm not gonna lie though. Like, if I'm Phoenix, I don't really want Jalen Green because him and
Oh
Devin
no,
Booker,
I would rather Amen Thompson.
yeah.
100% as far as fit goes. But at the same time, they traded for Bradley Beal and they had Devin Booker on the roster, so I don't think that fucking matters to
I'm
them.
gonna get there. I'm gonna get there in my soliloquy. I got
I forget soliloquy. I didn't forget about that word. But you got like Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith, Cam Whitmore's, Tari Eason. Like, you have tradable contracts, Reed Shepard, some young guys that you could throw in the mix. I like Houston, and of course, you mentioned Miami. Like, those teams are always going to be in the mix naturally. But two teams that I'm going to throw out to you that I feel like could be sneaky. Like, I think this team we may have talked about, but I think Memphis Grizzlies. I think if they put together the right package, you have Ja Morant. You at least keep Ja and Jaren Jackson. So Ja Morant, Kevin Durant, Jaren Jackson. Those three. You got the scoring, you got the defense, and you build it right. You need to figure out Desmond Bane is still there. A few other young guys, obviously Zach Edey's, other rookies.
G.G. Jackson,
Gigi Jackson, Jalen Wells. You have a bunch. You have movable pieces there. You have two guys that are in the Rookie of the Year running. You know what I mean? So you have some guys you can move. I think they can make it work.
I love Jalen Wells in Memphis. I'd hate that, but yeah, I get it.
But in that case, like, a sacrifice needs to be made. And in that case, I think he makes the Grizzlies like a legit contender. The other team, and I don't know, people won't be mentioning them. To me, it's just the idea of like, they're young, they're figuring it out, and they need that star player to take them to the next level. Bear with me.
OKC?
The Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons. Listen, it's weird. It's a weird team, but you need to put a star next to Cade Cunningham. This team is fighting for a home court advantage in the playoffs in the first round. Cade Cunningham, Jay Nyby, Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, Jalen Durant, Tim Hardaway Jr., the other Thompson twin, Ronald Holland II, Isaiah Stewart. You might not have as big names. And this is why I don't think it's realistic, or as realistic as like a Rockets, because I don't think you have as many tradable pieces as a Rockets would. But I think if they put together the right package of players, picks, I don't know what their draft capital is looking like, and you put him next to Cade Cunningham, maybe a Jaylen Durant, and then obviously once you get Kevin Durant, things kind of figure themselves out. I don't hate it. I'm just saying, because it's one of those things where not the Rockets, the Pistons this year is like, we're looking like they're a good team and they have something, but we know they're not going to compete because they have the all-star Cade Cunningham. They don't have the superstar like a Kevin Durant who could give them 25 a night easy. That turns them into a borderline, like a 50-win team, potentially more than that, and contending in the Eastern Conference. It's a weird team, but hey, I'd rather see something like that than him go to fucking Miami or the Clippers, truthfully. So,
I mean, hey man, I don't hate it. I can't say
it's
that I
weird
love
though. Oh,
it.
it's weird. It's
It's
weird.
very odd, and I'm kind of under the impression too that even though Kevin Durant doesn't have like a no trade clause,
They would send him somewhere that he wants to go. They'd, out of respect. No, they would.
you,
And that's why I think the Rockets really should be the clear cut favorite, or even a Dallas could
I
be
think
even.
either Houston or I didn't mention this one until just now, a few minutes ago, but OKC. Like,
I've always thought about the reunion being there, and I feel like I've always gotten shit on in the past for bringing that up, whether it's on Twitter or something like that. I feel like you have, and I like, to me, a Thunder is a team that's like doesn't have to even be mentioned in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes. They could go after anyone they fucking want with their draft capital and a few
yeah.
guys that they have on movable contracts. They can get Kevin Durant. They can go get any other star if they want. Kevin Durant reunion though, woo!
Like you talked about every reason that you said for the Pistons. Obviously, they have the superstar caliber player in SGA and possibly superstar potential in Chet once we see what that looks like once it's unscratched and all that. But when you talk about them actually getting that extra step, them getting that guy that you know is going to show up in clutch time or just really throughout the duration of a game, them getting Kevin Durant would make them official title contenders to everybody. Because right now, we look at the Thunder like, yo, they could be really good. They could get to the Western Conference Finals, but
they haven't shown us anything.
Yeah, look what happened to them last year. Like, they shouldn't have lost to Dallas, but they did. They matched up against who we thought was an inferior team that was just spearheaded with Luka and Kyrie, but that overpowered backcourt and offense destroyed them in every facet on that side of the ball. So now if they play a team like Denver this year in the playoffs, we'll kind of have question marks. If they play a team like the Lakers, can they beat the Lakers? Can they, there's too many questions about OKC, even though they're this high-powered gun that's ruling the West and have done so for the last 2 years.
I'll tell you, as a Celtics fan, like, do I think that they have the best chance to beat Boston? Probably.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that I think they can beat the Celtics.
Yeah,
I think they have the best chance, but I don't. In a 7-game series, they're too young. They haven't proven anything yet, and maybe they show up in the finals and they go crazy, and that very well could happen. But I think it's safer to say, like, until they get a Kevin Durant-esque player like you mentioned, that's when we truly are like, yeah, they're legit.
That would literally guarantee it. In
100%.
Mine and yours' head separately, like, and everybody else is kind of like, well, I don't know about OK. You seen Shannon Sharp, OKC, KFC, UFC, Lakers in 5. If they get Kevin Durant, I bet his ass won't be talking like that.
It's OKC in 4. No offense, but yeah, dude, it's because then you in the clutch, like you talk about getting Kevin Durant, you get Shai Gilgeous and Kevin Durant in the clutch. That's scary. That's scary hours. And again, just the whole story of him going back to OKC and winning a championship at a place that he left. It's a great story.
Yeah,
and I think that would, for his sake, because I love Kevin Durant and I care about his legacy and how people's opinions on him. And I feel like if he did win a championship in OKC, it's like you kind of right the wrongs of everything that happened in Golden State, and people kind of like, okay, that kind of evens it out. Like it's a wash essentially.
Yeah. Before we move on to our next topic here, just real quick, this soliloquy that I wanted to give you here.
Yes, that word. We need to bring it up. We need to find a way to mix it in every single week.
He loves it. But not just I think we have to say this, like I'm being so serious here, but
okay.
I think the Phoenix Suns might be the worst ran organization in all of basketball. Because Matt Ishbia comes into town, he buys the team, you trade for Kevin Durant, and it's like, yo, this is amazing. Like Devin
What
Booker.
more could I do?
Yeah, like, yo, you got probably, I don't know where you want to rank Kevin Durant today, but let's just call him top 10,
Sure.
for the sake of
Yeah.
argument, like a
Mhm.
top 10 player who could elevate his game to be a top 5 guy in the league when
And he's
he's
putting
able to do
up
it.
numbers. He's still averaging like more points than he has in
27,
years.
27
It's
plus.
ridiculous.
So,
Ridiculous.
like, what you're getting out of this dude. They trade for him. I'm like, yo, this is amazing. Chris Paul, Book, Aiton still, and then you add
Yeah.
KD. Oh, this is dope. And then you just shoot over the hoop. You shoot over the backboard where you just go for Bradley Beal. I love Bradley Beal. Like I was a big Florida Gators fan when he went to
But
school there.
it's
Him getting
about
to watch.
situations.
You don't
It wasn't a
move.
good
You don't
situation.
know team fit. You don't
Mm-mm.
know how to build a team. And I love James Jones, who's the GM. And he was a former hooper. He should know that.
But
Yo, these guys,
he
I
was
don't
a
know.
former riding of LeBron's coattails.
No Diddy, but riding
No,
or
did
not, you should
he?
definitely know
You
how
know a
teams
thing or
fit and
two,
what works. Bradley
right?
Beal, as good as he was in Washington, he played in Washington, didn't really play a lot of winning basketball. Yeah, they had a few postseason appearances and
Average 30 1 year.
30 points, but
But
nobody
what does
gives
that
a
get
shit
you?
in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things. So for Phoenix to take this swing, to get Bradley Beal, and then obviously, the dude has a no trade clause. So you knew this wouldn't really work out too well. If it didn't work out too well, you wouldn't be able to move him.
Dude, Bradley Beal must have been like when he was like, "Hey, Phoenix wants you." I would have been jumping for joy. I would have been
Yeah,
so giddy, being like, "Hell yeah, we're going to Phoenix!
absolutely.
Fuck yeah, I'm waiving my no trade clause for that." Are you kidding me?
Obviously, they get Bradley Beal. They do their thing last year where they're barely available, all three of them at the same time to play, but they win 49 games, get swept out of the first round. And now
Still
we
can't believe that happened.
I mean, neither. But we
Yeah,
fast forward to the future, around the trade deadline. Now you're thinking about trading Kevin Durant,
because you
your
can't
best
trade
player,
because you can't trade Bradley Beal because of the no trade clause.
because
That's
y'all
karma.
fucked up. Because
That's
y'all
karma.
fucked up. This is on
Come
Phoenix.
biting you in the ass 100%. No, it's honestly a
Terrible.
brain dead. It's one of those like it's one of those situations where it's like you look back and it's like, how do you fuck this up? Like you got to do some stuff to fuck it up,
Yeah.
and he did. Going after a player that was never meant to be there in the first place, was never meant to fit in there. Like it's 2K. He loves my league. He loves my GM. I'm sure I would love to see his hours played on Xbox, PlayStation, whatever it may be,
This is
because he
crazy, bro.
definitely did that trade on 2K at some point, like putting together a bunch of, didn't even get a first round pick, or didn't even, well, no, it was a bunch of second round picks. What a foolish trade overall. The Wizards not even getting a first round pick, even talking about it's fucking ridiculous. It just was the players that you could have gone on to get. You just got a player out of position that you just didn't need. Like if you made a big move to get another big man, point guard,
Sure.
sure, that could work, but going after Bradley Beal was just so dumb. And now they're getting they're getting bit in the ass here because of it. They're gonna lose their
They
biggest star.
they literally just shot themselves in the foot because they realized, yo, we're probably not going to win a title. Let's go ahead
No,
and
they're
try to
not. They're not winning a
rebuild this
title.
thing. I mean,
Poor
yeah, we
Devin
know
Booker,
that.
man.
We
Poor
know
Devin
that.
Booker.
It
Mm,
sucks for DB. Like it really
mm,
does. But hey, this is your organization. They already fucked up like everything around you. I know
yeah.
Devin Booker wants to be a lifer in Phoenix, but
God bless him.
man,
God bless him.
good luck, buddy. Good luck.
God bless him. He must love it out there because they are not giving him many reasons to, unless he's putting those quotes out with a gun to his head. I don't know why he's willingly saying these
I
things.
think I
But
think it's the Kobe influence, man. Just one team, one
hey, I
organization.
respect it. I respect it. But at the same time, brother, you got to get out. Sometimes the writing's on the wall. But all right, we'll move on. We mentioned, Kevin Durant. Obviously, the beginning of this was shutting down his trade to the Golden State Warriors, and because of this, it led to the Golden State Warriors going out and making another trade. They traded for Jimmy Butler, as we all know, at the deadline, and since they have traded for Jimmy Butler, the Golden State Warriors are 6-1. Jimmy Butler has been very good on the Warriors so far. They were minus 90 before the trade with Steph Curry off the floor. Now they are plus 30 when plus 30 after when Steph isn't on the floor anymore. And, Steph acknowledged at the trade deadline as well to Draymond Green that this, could be their last ride, which is sad to think about. But so this is kind of a trade that was a last ditch effort to see what we can do to stay competitive, and we'll see if it, works out for them. But as of right now, the Warriors are the 8th seed, 31-27, one game back of the 6th seed. But of course, that little area is just like,
It's a
10,
clusterfuck.
10 games from now, it's going to be all fucked up.
Yeah.
So just kind of want to get your 2 cents on what you're seeing from Jimmy Butler in Golden State. If you like the fit, I mean, they're 6-1, so there's definitely, it's a good fit so far. It's working. Do you think this is sustainable? Do you think the Warriors can carry this momentum into the playoffs and potentially make a deep run, or do you think this is just they're better, but they're not, still not good enough to do all that?
Yeah. Honestly, like I'm kind of intrigued. I think if I had to choose the most interesting team at this point in the season, it's definitely the Warriors. I don't really know what they're going to look. I know that's not a sufficient answer, but I really don't. I don't have a sense for where they could finish at. Like, I do think they're going to make the postseason. I do think, hell, they could possibly even make it into the playoffs outright without having to go through the play-in process because they are really that good. I think Jimmy Butler kind of gives them this new wrinkle where you have another genius and another plug-and-play kind of star. Like, is he Kevin Durant? No. But he's like Kevin Durant in senses where you don't need to give me the ball. I'll go within the flow of the offense and find my own. Yeah, like there's this play that they played back a few times when I was watching the game where Draymond set this off-ball screen for Steph, and once Jimmy started kind of moving towards Steph to get the ball, 2 defenders go, and Draymond gets an easy cutaway dunk. Like it's the gravity of a star caliber player and what they mean for a team that opens up the offense for everybody else. So Buddy Hield's getting easier looks now. And Draymond Green's getting easy slash to the basket. Pods. Everybody benefits off with the Jimmy gravity. So I do kind of like them sneaking into this postseason. Again, I don't know where. If they go through the play-in, I would love to see them as an 8th seed and take on the OKC Thunder. And we talked about this in the last segment to where we don't trust OKC all the way, even though we should pick them to beat the Warriors.
That would be quite the test for them in the first round.
A 4-time NBA champion organization with this era of guys, their last dance, if you will. It should be interesting, but now
Jimmy Butler never winning a ring either, so that motivation. Oof. Playoff Jimmy Butler. We all know what he's capable of in the playoffs, even at his older age. He's still we know that he can light up some teams. I mean, At this point, I think in the West, I think we have our 10 teams that are going to be at least in the play-in, because Phoenix is the 11th seed, and then you have Portland, San Antonio, New Orleans, Utah. Maybe Phoenix is the only team out of that 5 that can still sneak in, but they're 2.5 games out. Right. A lot needs to go right, and a lot needs to go wrong for the teams ahead of them, like the Kings, the Mavericks, the Warriors, and Timberwolves, who are the 4 teams. But like the Clippers are the 6th seed, and they're tied with the Timberwolves. So it's like there's only 2 games separating the 6th and the 10th seed. So that could all be it's absolutely wild. I will say, when they got Jimmy Butler, I looked at this trade as they're doing something to do something. Like they're desperate for a star, as we heard.
We're both on record saying that. Like
100%. And in a way, I still stand by it, because it's like Jimmy Butler wasn't even their first op. Well, maybe he was. And there was a whole lot of stuff, going into it. He didn't even want to go there, but then they end up. Who knows if that was their first option or not? I would think that someone else. Kevin Durant was their first option, right? So it's like they still did it because it was on the table, and they felt like they needed to make a move, and they did need to make a move. So they took a risk, and it seems to be working out. Jimmy Butler is an interesting character. We've talked about him on the podcast before, different situations he's been in, and how his relationships with other teams has kind of soured, whether it was because of the organization itself. He plays a part in it, a little bit of both, whatever it may be. So it's like Golden State trades for this guy, give him $120 million. He hasn't even stepped on the floor for you yet. It's like, this might not even work out. Kudos to them. They're 6-1. They're looking solid. Jimmy Butler is like, if he's bought in, he's bought in. Jimmy Butler went to a team that he knows he's not going to be the number one guy on or the face of the franchise, and he accepted that. And I think that's a huge step for him. And, with this team going far, is that him being able to, take a step to the side and be like, this isn't my team. I can help out Steph Curry in a million different ways, and I can still get mine by doing that, but I'm not going to be, the focal point. I'm not going to be the guy that the defenses are crashing towards. So I'm encouraged. I definitely think that they are, looking like a playoff team. And like you said, I mean, it's all based off matchups when the playoffs start. Like they could catch an OKC team. They could catch a Grizzlies or the Rockets, two younger teams. And it's like, at that point, even if the Warriors are a younger, not younger, a lower seed than a Houston, I might favor Golden State in that series. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out the rest of the season and like the play-in and stuff. But I feel better about Golden State, a lot better about them now than before the deadline, before they got Butler. So kudos to them.
Like I think I've seen Jimmy Butler say this somewhere too, where he said this is the best organization he's played for, and he's only played 7 games for him. But when I really think about it, every team that he's landed, the Minnesotas, the Phillies, the Miamis, like each situation wasn't a championship culture that was instilled. Like, I know he went to Spo, who won his 2 titles and whatnot, but he was the guy. And there's not like there was already a culture there in place. You became the culture, a part of Heat culture. Like, obviously, I know Heat culture is a thing, but he became the face of that. Minnesota didn't know what the hell they were doing. Philly thought they had the process figured out, but they let his ass go.
Yeah.
So Jimmy Butler winds up in Golden State where, hey, we won 4 titles and you've played against our title teams. You know how good we were.
Right.
And everybody
they have everything. They have it structured. They have everything in place, like plug and play. If you buy into the system, then
we'll be successful.
It should work.
Yeah,
right. Now, do I think they're a championship contending team? I don't know if I'd put them on that pedestal, but at the same time, again, it's all based off matchups. If they find a road, I could say that about any team, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible.
It's just interesting to, like, when I think about that now, are said teams championship contenders? I did not have Dallas as a championship contender last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of like, I don't know. They have Steph.
You never know.
They have Jimmy. They got Dre. Maybe they are.
And again, based off matchups, if you go up against a team that knocked out the number 1 seed the round before, it's like, you don't have to worry about going through that. It's a lot of things that happen along the way. But we'll talk more about the Warriors as the season comes to a close.
For sure.
Last thing that we have here, moving over to the Eastern Conference, we have a superstar that feels like he's not appreciated. And you know what? I agree. Jayson Tatum has put out, I don't know if he was asked like post game or as a quote, whatever, basically asking if he feels like he's underappreciated. He said, if you took the name and the face away from all my accomplishments, and you're just like, this is what this player A accomplished at 26, people would talk about me a lot differently. Honestly, because there's just been a lot of like debate over the last few weeks, I feel like, of, faces of the league and who could be the face of the NBA, like a non-international player, whatever. And, I'm seeing a lot of dialogue on Twitter, all these media people just kind of going around Jayson Tatum, where it's like, am I here to say that he should be the face of the league? That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, like, it is baffling and confusing to see someone like Tatum, so accomplished, that gets the kind of, the slack or, the internet trolls are saying all this and that about him when he really doesn't have, like, I know I'm a Celtics fan, so like I might get biased, but like you look at him and it's like, what other guy like do you want as a role model? Like, genuinely speaking, like at 26, well accomplished, NBA champion, multiple time Olympian, father of 2 kids, great influence on his son. So you want to talk about things. Well, you want
Tatum the man.
well, because you want to talk about an influence, you want a guy representing your league that doesn't have any like LeBron was the perfect guy. He would never had any scandals off the court or anything. The only thing people had against him was that he joined a super team, or formed a super team, and flopped for a few years pretty ridiculously. Besides that, it was just the game. That's how the game was flowing. He tagged along.
280-pound dudes don't get a lot of calls around the basket. I don't
he had to do what he had to do. But like the point being is, like, you have someone right? That could easily be the face of the league, but they're not talking about him as one. And I feel like when people talk about Tatum, like media coverage or whatever, I'm not saying it's more negative than positive, but it definitely is a mix of negativity in there as well. For a guy that is leading the Celtics in basically every major statistical category, points, rebounds, assists, 3-point percentage, doesn't miss time, doesn't sit games by any means. They're obviously behind Cleveland in the East, but
That's
they're
still
the
the best
defending
team.
champs, and they're still the best team in the league, if I could say so myself. So it is just like, I do feel bad for Tatum, where it's the sense of like he does nothing wrong, but yet he still gets shit on from people for no reason. It's like, Twitter is Twitter. It's like that's not the real world. That's just people on there that say and do things, and they feel like there's no repercussions for them or whatever. But it is baffling when you don't see media members as well on TV kind of defending him and kind of putting him in a light that he should be in. But that's really my 2 cents. Again, I'm not saying he should be the face of the league. I'm not even saying he's the best player in the league by any means. But I'm just saying I don't understand why he wouldn't be in these conversations when you're talking about face of the league.
I think the NBA is in a unique situation that it probably hasn't been in a little while. I think each decade, each era has a particular face. Where the '80s it was Magic Bird,
Right.
'90s we think of MJ, 2000s Kobe, and then LeBron, 2010s
Mm-hmm.
LeBron, so on and so forth. But there's multiple faces that we could sell
Yes. Mm-hmm.
as the guys for this generation. Where if you don't want to include foreign players, whatever, but I am, where it'll
Yeah,
be,
I do. Yeah, I do too. It's just like the television like arguments and stuff.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
talking about
yeah.
like not like no foreign players, like just strictly like, who's the American face of the
I
NBA. I should have said that
Yeah,
earlier.
and I get that, but Victor Wembanyama, Anthony Edwards, even John Morant, whenever he's on his shit and healthy, like there's a couple guys that we could throw in with them, but
I
I
think
literally just
Zion Williamson could have been a
yeah,
big name that would have been
potentially, yeah.
thrown in there. Yeah.
But I wrote something about this yesterday, and like I had to pull this back up real quick to just read it to you because my theory is that people love to hate success, and that's
Sure.
it's been proven,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
mentioned LeBron, even though LeBron was the face of the league for a certain extended period of time, there was a lot of people that still hated his ass, and
Oh
obviously his
yeah.
Miami move, but
Hmm.
hate is hate. The Golden State Warriors, like I think we loved them in 2015 to some degree, but like once Kevin Durant got there, there's a whole song committed to saying "fuck Steph Curry" over and over again. Like
I remember
take it
that.
to other sports too. People still hate the Chiefs despite them losing in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Like
Tom Brady.
people
Tom
hate
Brady
Tom
was.
Brady.
Yeah.
People
Still.
people
Still do.
don't love Sidney Crosby on the ice. Like they're
Derek Jeter, guys like that. There's many examples.
successful champions of their respective sport, and they don't get all the love that they probably should get. In Jason Tatum's case, you're the best player on the best team in the league, to where there needs to be something to hate about these guys because everybody outside of Boston does not want to see the Celtics hold the Larry O'Brien over the head for a second straight year. And guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all have the best shot to do that. Over every other team, all other 29 teams in this league, the Celtics have the best odds to repeat as NBA champions.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot to hate. For media, for fans, or if you're just some kid jerking off behind your fucking computer screen while you're hitting somebody up on X. I don't give a shit. Like, it's really just that's
Uh,
my theory that this dude's successful. And like you said, he's a great guy off the court. And
mhm.
that makes him even more hateable. It's like, look at Jason Tatum over here with
Look
the
at him
R&B singer.
with his son, bringing his son to the All Star game. How
Fuck
dare he?
you.
What an asshole! What a
Like,
piece of shit.
that's just the way that our society that we're in today is.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
Now it
accept it,
is.
but Tatum is definitely he's box office. Like he might not look like it, but I seen some other random stat. There's 8 players to hit at least 175 threes. Guess who's one of them? Jason Tatum. He's
Jason
also
Tatum.
the Celtics also have 2 other guys that also did that. So kind of crazy, but it's
Yeah, they're
still
they're
Jason
ridiculous.
Tatum is the face of the best organization in the league today. That's why people hate him, and that is what it is.
And I think honestly, at this point, like hate is a compliment. It's the
Yeah,
best form of flattery. You know
means
what I
you're doing
mean?
well.
Because that means you're doing great. Because LeBron James is the most hated person in the world back in like 2012, 2013. You know what I mean? But
People
like
still hate him now because we
they
said
still hate him now.
ago.
I think like halfway through his Cleveland. I think maybe when he won the championship is when the tides really started to turn as far as like people
Yeah,
like giving him his flowers and be like, okay, he's not. That's like Kevin Durant. Like we said earlier, if he goes back to OKC and wins, I think that's the
changes the
turning
narrative.
point. Change the narrative completely. But yeah, just kind of 2 cents on what we think of Jayson Tatum and like again, I think we're in an era where there's multiple faces of the league. You can't single out like make it one person. I think Wembanyama, like if we're accounting foreign and non-foreign players, like of course is probably going to be the guy that they push and is going to be the the moneymaker. But realistically, there's like 5 or 6 guys that you could label as face of the league, which isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. So
I think it's also Tatum's personality that people don't because
he's
not
not. He's quiet.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's quiet. Yeah, he real G is moving silence like lasagna. A great man once said, Lil Wayne, to be in fact. But okay.
I hope people know that. I really do.
The block is hot. All right. Let's. Do you have anything else you want to add in, Jerry, before we end things here?
I usually have these parting shots start out and all that, but this time I got nothing for you, man. Everybody, health is wealth, man. Take care of your body. Take care of your chicken. That's all I got.
Hey, you heard it. Take care of your cock. And that's all we have from the both of us. Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate all the support, whether you are here watching on YouTube or you're an audio-only listener. If you are an audio-only listener, give us a 5-star rating, review, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, put on notification bells if you don't have those on already. So whenever we post videos, you get those right away. Check out our gamified content over on the Shorts tab. We have a bunch of different games, trivia stuff there that you can check out, play along with, and have a good time. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. We will see you for episode 78 next week. But until then, peace out.
Goodbye, everybody.